Hi there. This is Michael with Interstate PR, and we are live today coming from my home office. And I'm actually going to bring on a friend of mine, Dan Gossett. He's a realtor here in the Sacramento area. And we're going to talk about COVID-19 and how it's affecting not only him personally as a husband and a father, but also how it's affecting business as a realtor and some of the ways that he's getting some. Perspective on that. So I'm going to go ahead and bring Dan in here. Hey, Dan, how are you doing?
Hey, good, Michael. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Good.
I hope that everybody in your family is doing well and sheltering in place wherever they are.
Yes. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. My wife is working from home. The kids weren't in school. They're too young, so they're still at home. They've always been at home. So not a huge adjustment there, other than my wife working from home. So yeah, we're all healthy and doing well.
Good. Good. So, Dan, you're a realtor here in the Sacramento area. And well, let's face it, COVID-19 and the shelter in place orders have really changed the way the real estate industry works, right?
Hmm.
So,
Yes.
uh, I mean, having being a homeowner, I know that you go out and you meet with your realtor and you walk around and you look at houses and you schedule
Yep.
time to look at them. But with social distancing measures, that's not really possible anymore, is it?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's a good point. It wasn't like we were, usually when you're showing a home, you typically driving your own car, but you'll have, occasionally people that down and you drive them around and shake hands and hug and, all that stuff. Now it's a lot different where you're really, you're keeping your distance, driving separately, or more often doing these virtual tours where, if, and maybe I'll back up a little bit. Just real estate in general has slowed down. But where I'm very fortunate, blessed, that, people still have to buy and sell. There aren't nearly as many people in the market right now just because of these health reasons, because they're scared of, if you're a seller, you're cautious with putting your home on the market if you don't have to, because you don't necessarily want to have people coming in your house. And same with the buyer. If you're uh, if you have to buy, um, you, if you don't have to buy, you're going to wait a little bit, kind of see what the market does, try to, avoid going in other people's houses. But there are people that do have to buy and sell. So I'll just talk, briefly about, um, what we're doing for buyers. For buyers, it's a little bit easier because I, as the agent, can go to the house and do a virtual showing if we don't have a Matterport tour or a virtual tour already online that I can just send you. Um, so typically, I'll go out to the house, take my phone, and I'll use FaceTime if it's an Apple user, or Google Meet, and I'll just I'll hold up my phone and walk through the home for my clients so they can have a live a live tour. They can say, hey Dan, can you go back to the backyard and can you show us that angle? Can you go to horizontal mode and see, we want to get a good sense of the backyard and the bedrooms or kitchen from different angles. So that's a pretty handy tool. Another thing we're doing, if the listing agent has put a 3D virtual tour online, that can help a lot. So we could send that ahead of time before we show the home virtually. So you, as the buyer, can get a good sense of, hey, what, you know you get to kind of virtually walk through. It's not as good as actually walking through, but it's a lot better than pictures. So you get a better sense, spatial sense of where things are. You can even use these Matterport tours to measure rooms and hallways and backyards and all that kind of stuff. So they're pretty handy. With sellers, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead. I was just playing around with the buttons here.
Oh, cool. Yeah, this is pretty sweet. So with sellers, we're it is a little bit more tricky. We want it with sellers. Now isn't the best time to sell unless you have a vacant home, and it's not the best time to sell because if you're living in your home, you don't want to have random people walking through all the time, and it's really hard to sell the home without people walking through your home. It's really most buyers aren't going to write an offer without actually going through your home. Um, there are some, but not many. So they're going to want to walk through their home. So my goal as your realtor is to limit the number of people that are coming through the house. So there's a lot of people that are just window shoppers, just looky-loos. They just want to come in and they just love looking at houses. So we want to give people as much information up front before they actually need to see your house. So we'll do a Matterport tour. We'll do where it's a 3D tour. And I pay for this. I hire somebody to come through your house, walk through and do this virtual tour. So it's a 360 view from anywhere you are in the house, backyard, front yard, kitchen, all the rooms. They can use that to measure, all that kind of stuff. The next, other thing we'll do is do just a regular video walkthrough, and of course, great professional photos, sometimes even aerial photos. And this is all for a home that you're living in. If it's a vacant home, it's not as big of a deal because people can just come out and look at it, as they always do. So the next step in this process, and I'm not going to go too into detail, but there are a lot of things we can do. We just want to make sure that people are really serious and taking precautions if they're going to come in your house. So we want to make sure that they've already looked at the virtual tour, make sure that we'll provide gloves and all that kind of stuff when they actually do come to your house. Again, we just want to make sure they're absolutely serious about buying your house before they come into your house. Now, if it's a vacant home, I think it's a great opportunity for a lot of folks because there just aren't, in the market right now, there just aren't as many homes on the market. So it can be a really good opportunity as a seller to list your vacant home because the inventory has actually gone down. Typically in March and April, the inventory will go up. And it did go up in March, but now in April, we're starting to see the inventory go down just because people are, they're more cautious about putting their home on the market if they're still living in there. So if you have a vacant home, it can be a great opportunity to sell right now, just because there's still buyers out there. There's still bidding wars out there. I've had clients and we've participated in these bidding wars. So I know for a fact there's still lots of buyers out there. So if you have a vacant home, it can be a great time to sell.
Now I know that you're not a mortgage guy, but you deal with people.
Yeah.
Are you finding things difficult right now with your clients who may be pre-qualified, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they have the money, or that doesn't mean they have the money already in hand, right? Are there problems right now with the mortgage side of things and the lending side of things with the rates fluctuating all over the place? And how are you as a realtor helping your clients through those struggles at this time?
Yeah, it's a very good point. There's a lot of uncertainty out there right now, and lenders are no exception to that. I was just on a call with a lender this morning with our brokerage, and he's talking about all the ups and downs and the rates and everything. People think, oh man, the interest rates were cut to zero, and we're going to have these low rates. Well, they're getting back lower, but for a while they actually went up, even though the Fed rate was going down. So, yes, to answer your question, Michael, there are things that we're doing. For example, if you have a stable job, a stable, essential job, we can use that as a plus when we're writing a letter for the seller. That's one thing that sellers and listing agents are really looking for right now is, hey, is your client going to be able to make it through escrow? Are you gonna keep your job through the duration? And I'm sad. It's saddening because people are losing their jobs, and I don't take that lightly. But if you're in a position where you have a solid job, it can actually, you can use that to your advantage to write a stronger offer, for example. Yeah, there are other things we can do. A lot of it is just finding a good lender, finding a lender that works well with you, that is going to give you good service, that you can trust, that's going to, maybe you lock in a low rate and you can keep that rate through the duration of escrow. But, that's a lot of it really depends on the lender that you use.
Sure. So, and now, I mean, I get, and you've said that it's not necessarily the best time, especially if you're living in your home, to put your house up for sale, right? People don't want others walking through their house. I mean, I
Unless
know,
you can go on vacation for a couple weeks. Yeah.
And if you can do, they're telling you not to do that even, right? So
That's
uh,
true.
it's hard, right? But
Yeah.
let's say you were considering selling your home before this
Mhm.
whole thing went down, before we were all
Mhm.
told, hey, you got to stay home so we can flatten the curve here.
Mhm.
What would your suggestion be to those people in that situation about how to get their house ready? I mean, is it
Mhm.
a time that they should be picking up the phone and calling somebody like you and saying, hey, I'm looking for a realtor, can we converse over, FaceTime or whatever, and
Mhm.
talk about the things that I can do to prepare my house? I
Mhm.
mean,
Mhm.
I've had to go to Home Depot for a couple. I mean, they weren't huge things, but they were essential.
Mhm.
So I went to Home Depot and I saw all these people at Home Depot, and they were literally buying like wood for new fences,
Mhm.
and they were buying flooring, and they're doing all these home
Mhm.
improvements around their
Mhm.
house. And my wife and I were talking about it, saying, some of these people are probably trying to prepare their house, but they don't know
Mhm.
what they should be doing.
Mhm.
I mean, what would you say to somebody who asks you those questions? Like, hey, Dan, I'm interested in selling my home. What should I be doing right now to
Mhm.
get it ready so that it can be a competitive home once this all ends?
Mhm. Yeah, great point. There with shelter in place and with staying home more, there's definitely a lot. I mean, I've heard of, we hear about people all the time, like, doing projects, fixing up their bathroom, fixing up the backyard if it's not raining, So there's a lot of good opportunities to do that. Again, it really depends on your situation. And man, it's rough to see. I've helped people buy homes, and then they'll go through and rip out all the flooring after the seller just put it in. So yes, very good idea to talk to your realtor before you go and do a lot of work. Um, you know, Usually people have a pretty good eye, but it's definitely good to go through with your realtor and see, hey, is this flooring up to date? Is this trendy right now? Is this a good bang for my buck? Because you don't want to get into a situation where you spend a bunch of money fixing up your house and then you don't recoup that money when you list. So you want to make sure that you're doing things to actually improve the value. They're going to give you a return on your investment. So the rule of thumb is lighting, carpet or flooring, and paint. Those are the three biggest things you can do without spending a ton of money. Now, if you have a really old kitchen and you have somebody that can give you a good, do work at a reasonable price, uh, yes. But then, maybe you're going to have people in your house. I don't know. So it's all very nuanced. It depends on the exact situation. So.
Sure. Now, so I know you said that you're doing these virtual tours. You got the 360 tours going on. You're
Mhm.
doing the video calls with people. What if you had a client who insisted on going and seeing a home in person?
Mhm.
Because as you mentioned, there's a major difference between seeing
Mhm.
pictures and even somebody showing you around, and you actually
Mhm.
being able to go in and look and touch and feel.
Mhm.
What's the scenario when that happens? Have you run into that?
Mhm.
And what do you do to take precautions to help the seller, especially if they are living in their home and still willing to open it up?
So are you talking about if I'm representing the buyer or the seller?
If you're either for that matter,
Either.
either. Yeah.
Yeah. So with, you know, in that situation, I have gloves that yeah, I've, a big supply of gloves. So we'll glove up or use hand sanitizer. We want to make sure some of the easy practical things you can do on both sides. If you're the seller, you want to turn all the lights on and you want to open some cabinets, open all the doors, so the buyers don't have to come in and touch anything. After the buyers come through, you want to be safe and maybe use Clorox wipes or something on the handles or anything that they could have touched. If you're the buyer, you really want to respect the sellers in that situation if they're living in the home currently. So you want to make sure that if you do touch anything, you let them know. And your agent can do that for you. But you really just want to minimize touching. They did the government did say recently that realtors and real estate is an essential business. Um, But with that, they're asking us to have no open houses. So we'll do a virtual open house instead. They're asking us to only have up to 2 people in a house at one time. So if I'm showing a couple or 2 people a home, um, the best thing for me to do is just to open the doors, let them go in, let them look, and then I'll go through after they're out, and I can lock up. But again, if the people are living in there, it's really critical not to to minimize touching any surfaces.
For sure. So let me just ask you. I know I said we'd be conscious of your time here, and it's getting about
Oh,
50
I'm good. Yeah.
minutes. Um, just thinking of everything right now, and obviously your job interacts with people every day, right?
Hmm.
And you also are a father, and you've got a
Hmm.
wife and 2 young kids.
Hmm.
Um, what are some just general things that you've seen that maybe people haven't thought about or done that you would suggest that people look at it doing during this time when we're supposed to be sheltering in place? We're supposed to be limiting our contact with people.
Yeah.
Just things, and maybe what's helped you get through some of these
Hmm.
difficult times right now.
Yeah, and probably similar to you, Michael. I mean, you're in the same boat. For me, it's really been looking at this as an opportunity to kind of reset and refresh in my business and in my personal life. So, more time with my wife, more time with my kids. I'm typically work 50-50 at at the office and at home. But I'm slower now. Just there aren't as many people I have to buy and sell right now. So I'm getting to spend more time with my kids and my wife and family, and that's that can be hard for some people. It can be a huge plus for some people. So just looking at that as a a unique opportunity in life to do that, and then in business, I've had this opportunity to go through my expenses and try to figure out how can I streamline things, how can I minimize unnecessary spend. It's also been a great time for me to just be a nice person and check in on people and offer to help, offer to get groceries or supplies, and that's something I'd recommend for anybody in my line of work right now. Is just an awesome time to without being a sales guy, just call people, text people, hey, how are you doing? Is there anything I can do to help? And just offer your services, because we have flexible jobs and we are in contact with lots of people. So I've found that it's a really good time to just catch up with people and my family and all that. So I'm enjoying this time.
Awesome. So I brought up your website here, and I just wanted to tell people that hey, if you are thinking about buying a home, if you're looking at selling your home, there's a ton of real estate agents
Hmm.
out there. I happen to know Dan personally.
Hmm.
We have a fun story that how we met. Maybe we can do this again sometime and tell that
Hmm.
story. But if you're interested or you just want to get in touch with Dan and want to learn some more things,
Hmm.
you can go to Dan's website. This is what his website looks like right here. His contact info, some of the homes that they have listed right now, and you can even see some information. They have some. I was reading through his blog post earlier. They've even got some stuff here about the coronavirus and doing things. Uh,
Hmm.
and his contact information is down at the bottom of the page. I put the link in the comments here. It's bestsacramentohomes.com. And Dan, I know, is a great guy. For those of you who know me, I'm a man of strong faith. I know
Hmm.
Dan is as well. And I know a lot of great realtors in the area. And Dan is one of those people that I would definitely suggest that if you're looking for somebody to reach out to him and make a contact, even if it's not right now, if it's looking in the future, he'd be a great guy to contact. And Dan, I really want to tell you I appreciate you doing this and coming on and giving me some of your time today. And
Mike,
I'm
yeah,
sorry.
it's absolutely my pleasure, Michael. I appreciate the opportunity, and to anybody that I consider you a good friend, and I just appreciate this opportunity. To anybody out there who has questions, anything I can do to help. We're here to serve you, and I just wish everybody the best. And this is a tough, weird time, and I wish everybody the best, truly.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Dan. I really, really appreciate again you coming on, spending some time, giving some
Mhm.
great information to people, especially in these so strange and difficult times that we live in right now. I'm
Mhm.
glad to hear that you and your family are adapting to these things, and that you've done that as well on the business side of things. I continue to wish you the best of luck in all of your business endeavors, and then really thanks for coming on and taking a part of this.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll talk to you soon.
All right, Dan.
Take care.